Hey, it's Blastzone Mike, and today I have a special guest. But before we get to that, I want to say that if you all who are watching this, please continue to send prayers and positive vibes to the people in Kentucky. My home state was devastated in Western Kentucky from a tornado that destroyed a whole town and lots more towns. Amazon was destroyed in the town, and lots of people were killed in this tornado. I don't know if you haven't heard of it. I don't know where you've been, but it's the largest record tornado in the history of the United States, and probably will be the largest death toll in the United States from a tornado. And I just want to say that the Blaspheme family's prayers goes out to all these people who have lost their families, and we're working on a way that we can help them too. So if you all can, and you watch this and you can come up with any ideas of how we can help the people that were impacted by this, please let me know. Now on with the regular scheduled show. I have Douglas Kaplan. I have to say that this has been something that we've been trying to put together for a little while. You all might have seen the Peter interview I did with the guitar player from Porno for Pyros. And actually, Douglas is the one that put everything together in the movie we're going to talk about that Peter is involved in. And thank you, Douglas. I appreciate you being here.
Happy to be here.
I appreciate you putting together the interview with Peter for me. What a informative interview that was, to say the least. That guy didn't leave any stone unturned, and it was really good to talk to him. And for me, being a rock and roll fan, and for somebody that's close to Perry Farrell as he is, in my opinion, Perry Farrell is one of the most musical geniuses in the world. And how did everything come together for you, Douglas, with Peter?
Well, ironically, Peter and I were working together in a different capacity. I started a company called All Edge Entertainment, and an area of that is All Edge Music, which Peter's a partner of. And we were working on another documentary called Heavy Water, the innovations of skateboarding to big wave surfing, as well as Frank and Ava, which was Harry Dean Stanton's last film. It had to do with Frank Sinatra stepping out on his family and being with Ava Gardner. And as well as we did a horror film together called Cult Girls. So Peter and I worked in various capacities where he would be scoring, composing, and writing original music for these films that I was producing, as well as executive producing. And we love working together, to the point that we enjoyed working together more than the projects we were working on.
Oh, wow.
So I had this idea, since I was contractually working on 3 separate films at the same time with my company, and Peter was always there. And I said, you know what, we should do something different. And the more I got to know Peter, I mean, as you could tell, his charisma, as you could see that he's a gentle soul who, just wants to help the world. And he really wants to pass on the knowledge that he's gained from his personal experiences to help others in the purest form. So we came up with Modern American Artists, where he would search our city of Los Angeles for artists, and it turned out to be painters who I knew, who the public might not be aware of, who had very interesting stories that we thought we should shed light on, displaying nationalism. We really wanted to create a piece that wasn't just a documentary, that was, music driven. All the music done by Peter, of course. He scored, composed the whole thing. In various scenes, you'll see him actually doing his thing, from working in the studio and scoring with the film director to being in the music studio recording original works. So it's pretty cool. We give you like this 360 view. So we just took initiative, and in our free time, while we weren't working on these other projects, we put this together, and it was a joy.
Well, some of my favorite things is like YouTube. I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I love to see the background part of it, where, you know, backstage and things like that that happen, because um, being a wrestling fan, you only see what you see on TV, but now with YouTube, everybody's got their own little pod thing that they're doing, which that's really amazing. A lot of bands are starting to do that, like the Foo Fighters, have their own things like that, which brings you into their life, and not just, we listen to you and play music. But I want to back up. So the three films you were working on, are those complete?
Yeah, they're all on Amazon today.
And are those with a company that put them out
All
on
Edge
DVD?
Entertainment. Yes, correct.
Did you all put them out yourself?
We had different distributors. Basically, in my industry,
Hmm.
we are an independent filmmakers, and we create content, we finish it, complete it, and then we submit it to film festivals.
Oh yeah, of course.
And were very fortunate that film festivals supported our films and screened them. We were able to get different distribution deals, where they could get digitally distributed, and therefore, we're fortunate to be on
How was it?
Amazon.
How was it to work with Harry Dean Stanton? Because one thing that I remember Harry Dean Stanton was when he was in Big Love,
You
and
know, it was his last film,
wow.
and he was such a gentleman. And I've met him before in the music industry,
Hmm.
because he would tour a lot and play music, which he loved to do. He'd play a local venue called the Mint here in Los Angeles. And he's just such an original type of person from a time period where they kind of broke the mold
Oh yeah.
with him. And, even though he had a small role, it was great because he actually personally knew Frank Sinatra.
Oh wow.
So he was able to really enjoy this, and it was a lot of fun. And
Wow.
when you deal with someone of his stature, it's just a pleasure being around such a gifted artist and professional.
So what do you prefer? Of course, you see my physical media. What do you prefer, physical media or digital?
Well, it depends what you're doing. When it comes to the musicality of things, I love hardware. I love vintage equipment. I used to build stereo speakers as a kid,
Hmm.
amplifiers and crossovers. I love a phonograph. I listen to records with my daughter and my family. I mean, I love certain types of sounds. When it comes to film today, I'm happy with things that people do on their iPhone.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't lose the story, and it's compelling enough, I really don't think the format matters that much. Of course, we all appreciate Ari Alexa. Um, I used a lot of mixed media in Modern American Artists, which I'm going to send you better Blu-ray or DVD, whatever you prefer.
Blu-ray, of course.
Okay. And you'll see that we used various different types of cameras and video cameras. I'm a big believer in archival footage, being a still photographer
Hmm.
as well. But
They made a whole archival. That new Beatles thing is on Disney. Is all archival footage. The
yeah,
Let It Be thing.
it's
And it's
amazing.
absolutely amazing. The
Yes,
sound is amazing. It's like,
yeah,
I mean, I love that kind of stuff because, you know, being a music fan and a wrestling fan, uh, you know, people died before I was old enough to see them. Like uh, I'm a huge Bruiser Brody fan. He died before I was able to watch him. Like even on TV, I was too young.
okay.
Or I never got to see the Doors.
Right.
So, you know, which I love the Doors and I love Led Zeppelin. You know, I never even got to see Michael Jackson and Prince, even though I was alive. It's just something you don't go, oh, well, I better go see Michael Jackson or Prince, or even Waylon Jennings, I mean, you never think of those type of things, or Kenny Rogers. The list goes on and on. You don't think about that. But because we have cameras and now we have people doing video for everything. If somebody plays tonight, it'll be on by midnight on YouTube, so we
Right.
have those things. And right now, in the times we're in, it's so great to be able to go back and watch those shows. I'm a huge fan of Mother Love Bone. I don't know if you know who they are or not, but
Yeah, I do.
I'm a huge Andy fan. Actually, I got Andy's signature right here on my arm.
Okay.
It's, if you can see it,
Yep.
I had Andy's signature tattooed on me. I was never a big fan of theirs until I got older, you know. Um, but to be able to go back and watch the footage of Andy doing what Andy did, as an artist is amazing. You
Well,
know,
yeah,
people
'cause somebody
later
was
on,
there.
people later on in life, me, my grandkids are going to find out who Peter is from, his band and go, oh, it's so great that there's footage of this.
Absolutely.
So archival footage is amazing. I mean, and I hope that the whole world opens up to more archival footage. They did for Star Wars. Like when Princess Leia died, to be able to have her in the movies, they use archival footage. If they
Absolutely.
wouldn't have had that, then Princess Leia wouldn't have been in it unless they made some CGI of her like they did in, you know, Rogue One or something that everybody's like, oh my God, you can't do that. My question for you goes to this then.
Sure.
Do you think there's going to be a time as a person who makes movies, do you think there'll be a time when everything we'll have a whole CGI movie of somebody who's passed away, like a John Wayne? Or
Absolutely.
do you think that's going to happen?
Absolutely, because there are things that you can do now with editing software based upon having someone's voice, based upon having someone's face, where you can create everything.
So you can make a whole John Wayne movie or a whole Steve
Yes,
McQueen movie.
absolutely.
And we kind of saw some of that though, didn't we, with the Fast and Furious after Paul Walker died, right?
Somewhat, they utilized his brother,
Yeah.
and the director utilized specific camera angles, so therefore it was quick enough with the way that they had the shots shot that it didn't take you away from the storyline.
And we kind of had that on the older version with Brandon Lee when he died in The Crow.
Yeah, same thing.
So you really believe that we might have a John Wayne movie 10 years from now, and he's been dead for, at that time, he'd be dead for almost 50 years.
I think that it's not out of the question.
Wow. It cost millions to make it though, wouldn't it?
Not as much as you would think. It would be more the rights from the family
Mhm.
and getting the approvals.
Have
That
you ever thought about doing something like that?
that's really, I haven't had that much interest. I mean, I utilize specific animation to tell stories in modern American artists,
Mhm.
different types, VFX, CGI. But I'm more about real people. I'm
Well,
more about the heart and soul and the passion of people who want to share their experiences, like you said, so it can be documented to help, educate and enlighten people while we're entertaining them.
do you like more the horror type of things and that type of movie, or more of a documentary type movie?
Um, I like more documentaries, um, where they're creative. They kind of flow differently, so it's kind of different than the norm. So therefore, you're more encapsulated in the story than actually the filmmaking, if that makes any sense.
It does, because during the pandemic, what was the biggest documentary on Netflix?
I saw many of them.
Tiger King.
What was that?
Tiger King.
It was one of them. Yeah, it was one of them.
It was one of the biggest documentaries of all time. And speaking of archival footage, the Tiger King 2 was
Yes.
almost all archival footage of Carol Baskin, because she wasn't even involved in the project. So it's interesting that you say that, because I don't think a lot of people understand that a lot of archival footage is used like that, because they did use, and that new Tiger King 2, there is so much archival footage. I don't know, did you watch it? Did you see Tiger King Part 2?
I didn't see the second one. I saw the first one. I saw the first one.
And a lot of documentaries are like that, though. A lot of documentaries are like that. I mean,
Yeah.
just a lot of archival footage. Another one I liked during the pandemic was the one about the doctor. About the guy who collected all the cassettes, and he was the one that took down the drug rings in New Orleans after his son was shot and killed. I can't remember what it's called. The Pharmacist. It was called The Pharmacist.
Okay.
Brilliant. And I never watched, let me tell you, I was never a documentary person until Netflix came along, and there's documentary after documentary after documentary. And you're stuck in a house, you can't do nothing. You're like, I've watched everything. I need something different.
Well, it's a little more interesting than based on a true story, because it is the true story and it is the footage, and you're seeing the people.
Yeah. So what do you think your next project will be? Do you think it'll be another documentary?
Well, I'm actually working on 2 right now. I'm working on the follow-up for Heavy Water, which is more going to be about safety with extreme sports like big wave surfing and mountaineering, as well as a modern American artist too.
Oh, wow. Is it going to be about painting again?
No, it's going to be more about photographers and photography with mixed mediums.
That's the thing about what you're talking about, modern artists. What is it called?
Modern American artists.
There's so many different things you can do. You can do music, you can do art, you can do photography, you can do film. There's so much different things that you can have a whole series before it's over.
Yeah, we originally wanted to do a full TV series, and we were gonna do every state originally, with all types of genres. And now I think we're just focusing on the things that we like, because Peter's obviously instrumentally involved because he's the star.
Yeah.
Where he basically hosts. So I'm excited that you're going to get a chance to see it.
And the thing, not to cut you off, but the thing about Peter, when I went into it, I talked to a lot of people. I've interviewed a lot of people, and Peter was just such a humble guy. I'm so happy I'm here. I'm so happy that I'm able to be here, and you don't hear that a lot. It's not what you hear a lot, but so honest about everything in his life. If people go and watch that interview that's on my YouTube, along with what this will be on, which the link will be at the bottom if y'all like to see it when the YouTube channel has it on it. One of the realest guys I've ever talked to. He told me stuff that just blew my mind,
We focus on that on the film as well, because it's an important part of his story. And he helps a lot of people. And it's one of the many qualities about him that attracted me to him, which makes him a vital part of this project, as well as being a wonderful, proud American. He's only able to be the person he is today because he lived in this country.
Now, are you a friend of Porno for Pyros, or a fan of Porno for Pyros? And
I was,
the stuff he did with Scott Wayland?
I'm a fan of all of Peter's music and his spinoff. I personally love Peter's solo.
Mm-hmm.
um, when we did film festivals, we screened our film 5 times, and he and I went to 3 film festivals, and he would do performances, and we'd do like an after party, and he'd do a solo performance that would just be phenomenal.
Now, was one of those
And
South by Southwest?
one of them was the Orlando Film Festival, which was a great venue, lovely group of people. They gave us the Focus on Art Award
Oh, nice.
from the city of Orlando, which was really nice. We did the Hollywood Reel Film Festival. It was their 13th edition. They gave us Best Documentary Film, which was really cool. We also went to the Phoenix Film Festival, which, Peter had an audience of 5,000 people, and it was just himself and his guitar.
Wow.
And he was able to captivate. And yes, he played some of the hits, but he's such a showman. I mean,
Mhm.
he's really a troubadour by nature.
Now, did you all video any of that?
Pardon?
Did you all do any videoing of any of that?
I have some, but it's more about, every show is kind of unique
Hmm.
with what he's doing based upon the night. But yes, we have some behind the scenes video from these different sets that he's done. And I believe that we captured the same type of feeling in the film, where he feels like he's able to flow from music that is known to original score and composition that he's created, as well as he creates on the fly.
Is this kind of like almost a documentary about him for
You
people that might
know,
not have watched it?
it's absolutely a documentary about him. I mean, Modern American Artist is about Peter DiStefano traveling through the city of Los Angeles, going to expose artists who are painters, but he creates new works of art with them in a collaboration while he's jamming. So he plays freeform music with them while they're painting, and they create new works together, and they talk about life, and they talk about what it is to being a modern American artist in our culture and society today, and the trials and tribulations.
2 questions. Do you have any of the art they made?
Absolutely.
And second, has any of the artists come to you after the movie come out and said that it was amazing that this happened and it helped us out a lot?
Well, the film is only screened 5 times, so it hasn't come out yet. It's going to be released next year globally. The artists who are involved, Michael Gorman, he appreciated that we were able to tell his story, and that he was able to give some light on his experiences in life that led him to be the person he is today, as well as he and Peter share some military experiences that they've had for the service that they've done, which is kind of interesting. It's not what you expect, and it's very humorous at times, with all archival photographs, so you can see the moments. And then the second artist is Alice Asmar, who is a child prodigy, who was born in 1929. Unfortunately, we lost her in the pandemic this year.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
So she had a different opinion. Doug, you got to get me out to the world before. And but she appreciated going to film festivals, which she did, and seeing herself on the screen. She was an amazing lady. I was able to have archival footage. She was a personal friend of mine, where you can see her during the 50s and 60s.
Wow.
She's talking about jazz. She's talking about a woman doing specific things as an artist during time periods where women weren't doing those types of things. Really a very interesting, unique perspective on society and culture from her, especially with the internet. right? And seeing the internet come to be. But Peter, was able to really have these synergies with these artists where they would have wonderful experiences and discuss, all kinds of things that are topics of conversation, as well as helpful for anyone who is an artist today, who's inspired to know what it's like going down that path for a lifetime.
So also, how did you get with Baby?
We had other opportunities, and a friend recommended Peter at Bayview, and I spoke to him once and he seemed very excited about what we were doing, which was a lot more than a few other people that I had spoken to who were, let's just say, not as interested in the aspects that were our main focus. I mean, this is a music-driven documentary. As you said, Porno for Pyros was an iconic band. Peter is a very unique talent, besides his guitar playing. Peter at Bayview was able to identify that. He was also able to identify our messages, as you said, where it's not just about one film. I mean, there's a plethora of things that could come from what we're doing, as well as it's for such a diverse audience that, it's been appreciated by, anyone who's 16 and up, because there's just so much information about all the different, areas of being educated as an artist today, and life choices that people have made, and ramifications from those choices.
It's great. Yeah. It's crazy because growing up, I grew up in the 80s where it was all hair metal and Brit rock and things like that. The kids today, going back to Perry Farrell, creating Lollapalooza, and it's kids of today listening to Billy Idol, and then listening to Porno for Pyros, but then listening to Girls on Fire or whatever it is, the other band that they come to see. That's the reason why Motley Crue's going back on tour, hopefully, they say, with Poison, Def Leppard, and Joan Jett, and for a stadium tour. And 7 of the dates were sold out. Stadiums.
Easy.
And that's because of kids. That's because kids tell their parents, like my son, he's 20-some years old now, but he told me, I have to see Kiss. I have to see Guns N' Roses. Man, I was a kid when Guns N' Roses came out. And I never even seen Guns N' Roses yet. That's one of the bands I never saw. But I got to take my son to see Kiss. The first show I ever seen a Kiss, and the first show he ever seen a Kiss.
Oh, wow.
And, tears coming down his eyes, and him going, oh my God, it's really Kiss, And, then I took you to see Alice Cooper. And
very talented.
And my friend Ryan plays for him. Ryan Roxy, he's a guitar player. So he got to go backstage pretty much and meet all the bands for Alice. And he's just sitting there going, wow, because last time I'd seen Ryan was before my son was born. So it was like, now he's like, we gotta go see Nickelback and Metallica. All those bands for Nickelback I grew up with,
Right.
So it's wild that children or young adults drive what is big. Nobody thought Motley Crue would ever come back out again, because he said if they got back together, then it'd be almost like the Eagles. Hell would freeze over. And now they're getting back together, and it's all because kids watched The Dirt on Netflix. And we're like, who's this band Motley Crue? So it's wild because maybe my grandchildren are going to do the same thing to the bands of today that break up in the future.
as well as that music will get repurposed.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
over and over.
I'm a huge fan of dance music.
Mhm.
Okay. And I I love the fact that so many of these DJ remixers, like a friend of mine, Don Diablo, they tap into the music from the 80s and 90s and they reinvent it with a different beat. And to me, that's amazing
Yeah,
because music is should be shared. Music is ever evolving,
look at Daft
you know.
Punk.
Mhm.
Daft Punk,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
or Marshmallow.
You
You
know
know,
what?
there's so many of them.
There's so many because you put on the radio and you hear Elton John, right?
That new song, Elton John.
Dua
Yeah.
Lipa. Yeah, it's amazing. And my daughter's singing it and she's 8, right? And that's how she was introduced to Elton John. I mean, I went home and played the classic records in vinyl for her, but that the new music with the beats and the way that it's kind of presented, it's more attractive. It attracts a new audience.
They say that's an amazing album. I haven't heard it yet, but I know the song you're talking about.
Yeah,
And Elton's coming to Lexington, but it costs $600 a ticket.
that's pretty
So
steep.
it's like, okay, I just watch it on YouTube, I guess. And I might not get COVID. So, hey, if I stay home and watch it. And you know, how have you survived COVID yourself? You're in California, right?
Right? No, I'm in Santa Monica, California.
How
Uh,
has that been for you all? Because I know you all as governor shut down the state for a long time and you all can go out and do stuff and
it's been very challenging. I kind of I personally steered to, obviously when you're out wearing a mask,
mhm.
because any type of virus you have, if you wear a mask, that's the best way to protect yourself. I took the opportunity to really spend a lot of time with my family.
A lot of people do that.
Um, you know, my daughter at the time, my daughter was 6, now she's 8, right?
Mhm.
And my mantra was she's only going to be 6 once. She's only going to be 7 once. So, you get the RV, you rent the RV and you go travel, right?
Mhm.
And you stay COVID safe and you go to the parks. And my wife's a singer songwriter and, she would shoot music videos and, I would work on a script and I did some consulting for some friends who were finishing some movies,
Mhm.
right? Where you could watch stuff and help edit and help give them some ideas. But it was quiet time.
It
You
was
really kind of stayed to yourself. And I believe it's going to be more of the same through the next 6 months.
me and my wife were talking about that. After Christmas and New Year's, we're talking about only going out when we need something or doctor's appointments again because where I live in Kentucky, it's just so flip flop, flip flop. And I live in a small town, like it's a flip, like it's like when you're all not boroughs or whatever you call it, but it's like one of your little cities within a city, if you want to call it that, there's only like 2,500 people live here, so it's like you got to go to outlying areas to go and do anything. And the one thing that we learned is anything you want, you could just have it sent to you,
That's true.
you know,
And that's the new era we're in, right?
and
Just you can click anything to your home.
yeah, I mean, we made a lot of the do-it-yourself meals, that you get the box and it's got like 3 meals. We did a
Sure.
lot of them. Those are on our YouTube. And, we learned that we had to get this, and this, to survive. And you can go back and watch the videos. We did quarantine videos for weeks, months,
No, I saw a few.
and we're just like, then you get that urge, you want to go out and do something, but then you're like, I don't know, man. I'm so conflicted about I haven't got COVID, I'm lucky that I haven't got COVID at all, or none of my family, and I want to keep that trend, you know. I don't want it to be because God, I don't want to go to the hospital with COVID.
It's a numbers game, like anything, right? And you make choices. It's no different than all the choices you make in your life. And if you choose to, for example, I had an opportunity to go to EDC in Las Vegas, one of the biggest dance events in the world. I turned it down. I didn't want to surround myself with 30,000 people who traveled from various places to show up at one event during a time period where I could possibly get something, right, that I would bring home to my family. And I'm not saying that you can't take, right, you can't take the preparations
Yeah,
and
of course.
quarantine and you can do all that, but it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why we live in America, people. It's a personal choice what you do.
Correct.
It's not like we live in a dictator country, and you can take your choices of how you want to live your life and how you want to do things. You know, ironically, the first big show out of the COVID era, the first COVID era, was Lollapalooza. And everybody's like, oh my God, there's gonna be so many people with COVID come out of there. And it turned out okay with 100,000 people, you know? But you don't know. You could be like with 10 people watching the show.
But you don't know about the, let's say, 3 to 7% that went home where they came from, right? Which negatively impacted other family members.
Of course.
You don't know, but you do know that those people did go and they embraced the experience and it was very positive. And fortunately, you know, people are okay from doing that, but you know, you hear Sturgis again.
Oh yeah, Sturgis was one of the, you're right, Sturgis was before Lollapalooza. And everybody
had issues.
Man.
They had a lot of issues. But you know, you have your family, I have my family, and I don't want to be a small percentage of something that happens.
No, me either.
I'd rather wait it out, right, until it's in a better situation for us to move forward positively.
I tell you, the last year and a half, I've got so many interviews I did because everybody's at home, and you know
that will continue.
They're my COVID interviews, as I call them, because that was during the COVID era, and I put one out every once in a while and put on YouTube and things like that. And then now I'm starting to do more interviews again, like in present day, but it's never changed. It's always the same. Everybody has the same outlook, like you did. I think we're going to have more of this before it's over with. You know,
well, when you're a father and you have children and you're a grandfather and you have a family.
Oh yeah.
You have to think for yourself and you use your own common sense based upon your own knowledge, right? Of what kind of risks you choose to take.
I feel kind of sketchy today. I was at my granddaughter's singing thing that she did. She's only 7. And we're all in the gymnasium. And I was kind of feeling a little sketchy there, you know. It was like, I feel a little crowded, you know. But it was like they sung and we left, pretty much.
Okay.
You know,
they adapted.
It wasn't like, okay, let's hang around and talk and nonchalant. It's like, okay, your kids are done, leave. Let's let the next phase of people come in. So, you know, we've all learned to adapt like that. You know, I've been to 2 shows since the pandemic. I'm gonna see Alice Cooper again. Oh no, and I went to see wrestling. Those are only 2 things I've done since 2019, right? Is that when it started? 2020 in March. Those are the only 2 things I've been to. And I feel sketchy when I went to them. You know,
well, you're very safe. You were very safe and you took precautions.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Definitely. I was like, you know, my friend, you know, put us in an area. I'm like, can we sit down here where there's less people? You know? And the thing about concerts is this, okay? You can put up all the barriers you want, okay? Because there's certain places where they got little pods, but everybody's going to rush to the bathroom at the same time. Everybody's going to go get drinks at the same time. There's no way to say, okay, you stay here and let these people go. You know, I mean, it's so I didn't go get nothing to drink. I didn't get nothing to eat. I just went and watched the show and went home because it was like,
You adapted to your environment.
yeah, you know, and I didn't get to see Ryan this time because Alice wouldn't let nobody be back, you know, any other people that weren't vaccinated be a part of the thing. You know, it was like he had a bubble and
Right.
you didn't let people in that bubble, you know. Hell, he's 80 some years old. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in his bubble anyway. You know, I mean, it's we're gonna see different things happen. I think 2022, like you said, I think we're gonna have to learn to adapt. You know how a snake that's like not from here adapts to live, like a python.
Reacclimate.
Yeah, like a python who's in the woods of Florida or whatever. They learn how to adapt. They learn how to survive. And I think that's what we're going to have to do in 2022. I really do. Because, hey, I'm not one to hold back. There's a bunch of ignorant people who just, I feel like they don't care. You know, like where I live. Oh, I can't wear a mask. I hate wearing a mask. You know, it doesn't take much to put on a mask and go somewhere. It's not that it's not that hard. And when you're in a Walmart, do you have Walmart where you live?
Of course.
Well, some people don't. So
Okay.
even if you're in the aisle, people are like right in your bubble. And it's like, man,
Be
you know,
respectful.
yeah.
Be respectful.
I haven't even been to a movie yet. Have you been to a movie yet?
No.
See, I mean, yeah. So you said you had a daughter that's like 6 and now she's 8. Did you all
8.
watch a lot?
Yeah.
Did you all watch a lot of movies and did you all play a lot of games?
No, we did games, we read books, we went on road trips, we watched some fun films. Um, spent more time outside with nature.
Was it wild to get back to that sense instead of hurry up and go?
Oh, it was great. But I've got to say that I did appreciate, like, we're on Zoom now.
Hmm.
Zoom, what is become an incredible tool.
Oh, amazing.
And she did school for a while on Zoom. So now she's used to Zoom to the capacity that if she wants to speak to a famous, astrophysicist who's in Switzerland, she can get on a Zoom and communicate with somebody.
It's amazing.
And that to me is wonderful
Yeah, I
because
mean,
we have that now where it's a constant medium.
and it's going to continue to be that way.
Yeah.
You know, Zoom, StreamYard, there's so many of them now. And even now, Facebook, like when my wife went on her business Facebook Live, they said you can have 3 guests on. That was just acclimating into it like a few weeks ago, where we've been begging for that for years. You know, like, hey, can we have more than one guest? But more people are doing Zoom to Facebook because you can have more than 100 people on it. Not that I would have 100 people, but you know what I mean. It's so much easier because you're in these little blocks and stuff. So, well, tell everybody again when is your movie's coming out and
Next year, Modern American Artists with Peter DiStefano.
when do you think? What's the date? Do you know yet?
We don't have one, but we'll definitely give you all the information for you to put on your YouTube.
Okay.
As well as we'll get you a screener. I'll make sure that we get you a screener so that you can see it, because I think you'd really enjoy it based upon knowing Peter
I'd
now.
love to, before it comes out, to get both of you on together and
Absolutely.
talk about your experience, and stuff. So, Douglas,
Yes.
it's been very, very, very pleasant to talk to you. And thank you so much for what you've done. And, I can't wait to see the movie. I can't wait to see your other movies. I'm intrigued by a horror movie, a Harry Dean Stanton movie, and a surfing movie. It's all really cool. So thank you so much. And can people get like a DVD or Blu-ray now, or do they have to wait till it comes out next year?
I believe they need to wait next year.
Okay, but it is on streaming platforms right now, right?
Those three films.
No, you're the film with you and Peter. Is that on
Modern
streaming?
American Artist has not been released yet.
Okay, great.
That will be a 2022 thing with Peter from Bayview Entertainment. Is
great.
going to be releasing that.
And thanks to Peter for doing this. He's an awesome guy. Y'all need to check out Bayview. This guy has plethoras of movies. It's unreal. I never even knew about Bayview, so I just came across him one day. I was like, holy crap, where have I been all this time? But Peter's a great guy, and you all need to check him out. You know, he's got movies, and he's got a lot of stuff planned for 2022 that I can't really talk about because it's not my place to, but it's going to be great. So you all have a great night, and Douglas, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.